jurist and senior advocate in the Supreme Court. Aryama Sundaram is our first one-on-one tonight. Mr. Sundaram, has the Supreme Court really said, as is being made out, that everything that the Yogi Adityanath government has done or has been wrong vis-a-vis the use of bulldozers to destroy unauthorized constructions?
Arnab, I think the judgment of the Supreme Court is very clear. It is a harsh criticism on two things. One, if this bulldozer demolition is done without authority of law, meaning against a building which is otherwise authorized, but merely because the owner happens to be a person who's a convict or an accused, it is being demolished. They say it cannot be done if the building is legal. Second, they've also been a harsh criticism as to not following the procedure laid down by law. So there is a big difference. Whosoever you are, high or mighty, criminal or not criminal, whoever you are, if your building is unauthorized, it can certainly be demolished. And the judgment will not apply to such buildings, of course, with the caveat that the procedure laid down by law of issuing show cause notice and otherwise asking the person to reply and thereafter taking action is followed. The Supreme Court judgment nowhere says that an unauthorized construction, if occupied by any given person, whether they're an accused or whether they're not, or whether they're of a community or not, that building cannot be demolished is not the judgment of the Supreme Court. What they did say was, when you target accused and criminals merely on the ground of being that, of accused or a convict, merely on the ground of being an accused or convict, and demolish his building, that is completely wrong. And I don't think anyone can doubt that. All that is required is, if the building is unauthorized, issue a show cause notice, take action, and of course demolish it. But if the building is authorized, then I do not believe that the law permits anywhere that whosoever the person, the building can be demolished anyway. And that is exactly what the Supreme Court said.
Now, Mr. Sundaram, the Yogi government says that it has given notices, A, to buildings which are not authorized, B, and C, that its act of using the bulldozer has nothing to do with the fact that the individual is involved in any other crime, such as rioting or rape or murder. In that case, what changes?
If that is a fact, if in fact, as the government says, that show cause notice has been issued, the building is unauthorized, and it has been applied irrespective of the nature of the person who's made that unauthorized construction, I see nothing wrong in it. And the Supreme Court judgment
I'll open up to calls
will not in any way come in the way of such an action. And it will not interdict any such action, as what you have just pointed out.
This is such a useful conversation. My attempt on the debate now at 9 o'clock is always to involve the viewer. And viewers now have a chance to speak directly to one of the topmost advocates in the country on such issues as well as constitutional law, Aryama Sundaram. Ladies and gentlemen, the person on your screen, Aryama Sundaram, has had a stellar reputation as an advocate. He was earlier in Chennai and then he moved to Delhi more than 20 years back and is one of the most respected senior advocates of the Supreme Court. You can ask him a question or two in case you need clarity so that you don't think, though I cannot put words in Aryama Sundaram's mouth. Viewers, calls are on. I'll take one or two calls. Mr. Sundaram, my next question to you before the calls come in is this, that is it that the Yogi government or any state government now has to go to the court and get a court order to carry out the act of demolition? Because that may take time.
Not so at all. In fact, the statutes which deal with constructions and with development and with town and country planning development always provide for a mechanism that if there's an unauthorized construction, the executive themselves, the authority themselves, can issue necessary notice, and after receipt of reply to the notice, can proceed with any punitive action, including demolition. If the person against whom such demolition is being moved is aggrieved and say that there is an authorized construction but has wrongly been held to be unauthorized, it is for them to go to court, not for the authority to go to court to get permission to demolish.
So if a person gets a notice, you can go to the court and seek instruction, and in only that case, the government has to reply and then get an order passed. Now, what happens is that orders may get challenged in higher courts. What happens then?
So when a notice is issued, the person replies.
Yes.
And upon his reply, if the demolition is directed, not being satisfied with it, yes, the person can go to court. But in my experience, if the court is satisfied, at the very first hearing, the court has to be satisfied that the construction is a legal construction. For example, the person going there would have to show a plan, a sanction plan, etc. The court would then admit the case and ask for the reply. And immediately upon considering the reply, if they find that it is an unauthorized construction, they will not proceed any further, they will dismiss the case. So in my experience, I can tell you that when an illegal construction is put up and an order of demolition is passed, unless you make out a very strong case as to why that order is wrong, the courts do not interfere. The courts do not bless illegal and unauthorized constructions, nor does this judgment in any manner bless any such unauthorized constructions. All it says is follow the procedure, and that is it.
So this is one of those situations, viewers, if you're listening, where if you're a law-abiding citizen, you have nothing to be afraid about. So if Aryama Sundaram or Arnab Goswami or any other person in this country owns a house or a flat or an apartment or a piece of land on which they've constructed the house and they have the registration papers for it, and they paid registry deed taxes for it, and they have got the title deed for it, and they have also mutated the land in their name by paying the requisite amount and got it placed in the revenue records, and also with that, if they have followed the due process of law, which is to also get a clearance for the particular house construction, so that you have things like FSI and design which are approved and not breaking existing rules, then you have nothing to be afraid about. But, and that's where the big but happens, Mr. Sundaram, we are a country where people love breaking the law or dodging the law. Someone doesn't get their house registered, I don't want to pay the extra money. Someone doesn't get their house mutated, I don't want to pay the government the extra money. I want to get away with it. I want to do jugaad. Or I want to build an extra floor where it is not allowed. I want to break the law there. Only then you have to be afraid, right?
Absolutely. In fact, according to me, if you do such a thing, the law should come down on you with a very harsh and heavy hand. And I'm sure the courts will also support such a harsh and heavy hand on you for not following the law and for breaking the law itself. Okay. No lawbreaker can seek help from a court.
You can ask questions directly. I'm staying with the law part of it with Aryama Sundaram. We have a caller from Hyderabad. It's the familiar voice of Upasana. Upasana, you can talk to Mr. Sundaram directly.
Hi, Arnab. Hello, Sundaram sir. And thank you, Anand, for raising this topic from time to time. Sir, I just want to thank you for clarifying on this because, the way Akhilesh Yadav is speaking, it clearly looks like that, the government is doing something against the court orders. So thank you very much for clarifying that. I just wanted to know, is there a law to take action against such people who are, basically spreading wrong information or maybe just interpreting the court order in a very different way and spreading that information to a lot of people? So is there a law to take action against such people? I mean, that is very, very important because it always happens that, court says something and something else is, told to people or followers. Even social media influencers do that. So is there a way to stop that?
Well, that's something we find happening very often, unfortunately. Courts give their decisions, and the decisions are interpreted in various different ways by various different factions with vested interests. That often happens. Unfortunately, that becomes a comment on the decision.
Yes.
Of course, if by reason of your misinformation, you create, and if it's a deliberate misinformation, you create a riotous situation, or you create a situation which leads
Provoke
to
or incite people, yeah.
provoke or incite violence, then certainly you can be punished.
Mr. Sundaram, people are loving the fact that they're talking directly to you. Uday Kumar is calling in from Mangaluru. Viewers, I have limited time with Mr. Sundaram, so this will be the last call to him, please. Uday?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, hi Arnab and Namaskar Sundaram ji. Is it necessary that government should give again a notice to the illegal construction, or they can start demolition overnight?
No, the various statutes which deal with this matter, with constructions in general, always have a provision that if there's an illegal, unauthorized construction, the government may issue a show cause notice, giving a very short time. It doesn't mean months. It could be a week or 2 weeks to reply and to show and to prove that the structure is authorized. And if the person is not able to show it, then an order of demolition can be passed. And once the order of demolition is passed, it can take effect immediately.
Immediately. Yep, absolutely. Well, this has been so useful, Mr. Sundaram, because, you know, what happens in a post-truth world is that we go by the logic of the reaction. What you have tonight is a position on the law. And I thank you, Aryama, for joining the program this evening. Thank you. And we have another legal.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we have Pinky Anand, Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court.